Right here, I'm about to start. Ben and everyone else, please turn your cameras off and we will get started in 1 second. Bear with me, let me admit everybody in and then make whoever needs to be made. Okay, so they're all perfect. You should all be okay now. And again, if you don't mind, then if you can turn your camera off, please, that would be great. And we are about to get started. Today has been quite an interesting day, I have to say, because I'm running and sweating like a pig. I've got quite a few meetings in, so kindly bear with me so I can get this started properly, and then we can get going. Almost there. Right, can everyone hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Matt, you can. Ben, would you mind turning your video off? I don't know if you can hear me, so that we can keep this audio only. No, you can't turn it off. Maybe try and leave and then come back in if there's a possibility. What I'm going to do is I will send the live link to our LinkedIn group just in case if anybody else is struggling to join. and then we will get started in 1 second. So bear with me. Here you go. All right. Okay. Who we got waiting in the lobby now? Okay. Admit all. Let's see. Right, that should work now. Okay, so you can all hear me now, can't you?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us. This is Startup Growth Q&A. We're here to help startups like yourselves for your business from zero to hero. The idea, it's quite simple. You see, unfortunately, over 90% of startups fail. And the top 3 reasons for that are 1, market fit, 2, running out of money, and 3, not having the right people. But guess what? It all comes down to one thing: you being able to sell enough of your product or service to enough people to survive and hopefully thrive. And that's what we want to try and do in terms of helping you today. We've got some amazing panelists with us on stage, people who've been there and done it. And by the way, these people have been supporting us for 4 years now. We've had 280,000 people tune in. If it hadn't been for them, none of that would have happened. So please show them your love. By the way, panel, if you would like to drop your LinkedIn URLs in the chat for people either now or when they listen to the recording to follow you, you can. Here's what we're going to do today. We'll go through some quick introductions. Then we'll open it for questions from the audience. And actually, just before the questions, it'd be a good idea to get some do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage growth. And then we'll get your questions. In terms of those questions, the way it works is quite straightforward. If you're following us via the live streams, you'll have to join us on Microsoft Teams Live instead, because we're unable to monitor your questions there live. The quickest way to do that is to go to our website, startup.scaleup.club, click on today's session, which is Startup Growth Q&A 144. You click join. It's a quick registration. That gets you a link to your email, and through that link, you can join our audio call here on Microsoft Teams. And by the way, in terms of today's question, they can be on anything to do with growth. So user, vendor, partner, client acquisition, growth hacks, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, go-to-market, and all that jazz. There literally are no wrong questions. There's no need to be shy. If, however, your questions today are not on growth, please save them for the other conversations we host. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising. Second Friday of each month, it's UK startup law, and third Friday of each month, it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them by our site, startup.scaleup.club. And actually, when you go to our site, you might want to join our group, or our groups rather. It's a community on WhatsApp of fellow founders and investors and operators that you can join. There's a WhatsApp icon at the top and bottom of the website there. Today, unfortunately, we're only going to do this until 12:45, as I've got a really important meeting at 1, which means we're only going to be here for the next 14 minutes. If experience tells me anything, that if you leave the questions to last second, you'll end up not being able to ask any of them, because then we ran out of time. So if you do want to ask us questions, please drop it in the chat right now. Now, without further ado, some quick introductions. My name's Anton Cole. I'm an Albanian in London, working with startups normally right after they get investment. I'm led within their teams and help them hire and keep the right people. I also do some growth advisory work with a few other startups and accelerators. And lately, I've been helping some angels and family offices with their due diligence and assessments. We can perhaps start with the Okay, where's Susan? Yep, you can start with Susan, then Matt, then Jagdeep, then Ian, then Ben. A quick introduction from yourselves, if we may, please.
Yeah. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Susan Harkins. I head up innovation and entrepreneurship team within the South of Scotland enterprise. We focus on driving entrepreneurship in the South of Scotland, which is predominantly a rural area. And I have a lot of experience working with business startup and business growth companies over the last 20 years.
Thank you very much, Susan. Matt?
Hey all, I'm Matt Thomas. I've been working in growth marketing for over 10 years now in a mix of roles, both in-house and fractional, mostly at early stage startups, but also at some incubators as well. And I now head up growth at Background, which is a marketplace for fundraising services and startups.
Thanks, Matt. Jagdeep? Can you hear us, Jagdeep? Okay, Ian, do you want to go? I'll see what's happening with Jagdeep's details.
Yeah, sure. I'm Ian Russell. I've worked in sort of direct and digital marketing for many years, specifically in mobile growth and app marketing for the last 15 years. And I do some consulting on the side, and I currently am co-founder and chief growth officer of a new fintech startup called Know Your Dosh.
Thanks a lot. Ian, Jagdeep, you able to talk now?
It looks like Jagdeep cannot unmute. I don't know if you can do it for him, Anton.
I've just made him presenter. Jagdeep, you might want to leave and then come back in. Maybe come back in via the live link I sent onto our LinkedIn group, Jagdeep. That might help. Do you want to go ahead, Ben?
Sure. Hey everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Ben Drury, co-founder and CEO at Yoto. Yoto is a kids audio platform. We have a set of unique products that are helping families and children enjoy an incredible world of audio content without screens. Tackling a very modern first world problem of screen time amongst kids. We launched into COVID in early 2020 and then into the US later that year. And we're already at 9-figure revenue and profitable. And we're reaching millions of children with our products and services. We have Harry Potter on our platform and content as varied as the Beatles, etc. And very proud to say we have Paul McCartney as one of our investors alongside traditional and boring VCs.
Not a bad start for a Wednesday afternoon. Jagdeep, are you okay to talk now? Jagdeep, I could hear you for a second. Try and unmute again, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. All right,
Okay.
Go ahead. We've only got about, we've only got about half an hour now. So take it away, Jagdeep.
Sure. In the interest of time, I've added my profile into the chat, so please have a look. But in summary, 25 plus years across various industries, geographies, sectors, in multiple roles. Currently working as a fractional CTO advisor for various organizations, both in the UK, Europe, and in the Middle East.
Thank you very much. Jagdeep, since you've spoken last, so maybe you can start and then we can go to Ben, Ian, Matt, and Susan. If you can come up with one do and one don't in terms of early stage growth. And let's keep it under 1 minute, please. Go ahead, Jagdeep.
Yeah, sure. So one do would be make sure you do your research and validate all your assumptions. So this would include aspects such as user research, market research, competitor research, validating all your assumptions across what you want to do, why you want to do it, what does MVP look like, and why do you need the investment that you do, and why are you looking at your particular team sizes, etc. So everything that you have in your business plan, all is validated with data. So that would be a do. A don't is don't overcomplicate things. Sometimes simpler is better, and simpler is also elegant. Simpler is also easier to fix as well.
Yes, please, Ben, and then Ian, and then Matt, and then Susan.
Okay, one difficult do is to break the US. I know it's a graveyard for UK tech companies sometimes, but for us, it's been absolutely pivotal to our success. We launched there early. We launched there kind of aggressively. Figure out from the very beginning. First of all, if the US is indeed relevant, maybe it's not. But if you can break it, it's unbelievable. It indexes 5 times in terms of population, but really realistically in terms of spend, it's like 7 times the UK. So I'd strongly recommend doing that. Don't procrastinate when it comes to firing people. Unfortunately, one of the things that happens in startup and scale up life is the people that were right for you in the early days are not necessarily right for you 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And I've been absolutely guilty of this, of procrastinating when you kind of know that it is wrong. Those people are now the wrong people for you, and you kind of think, oh, maybe they can find something else, whatever. But you got to make those difficult decisions and get on with it.
Thank you very much, Ben.
So for me, especially at early stage, I think it's definitely look to unify all your owned channels and your organic activity. So just make sure that all the touch points, look as though they are coherent and all singing from the same hymn sheet when people go and do a bit of investigation to different like social profiles on websites. That all helps a lot for sure, and gives you a good base to build on. And I would say don't jump into big paid marketing campaigns too quickly. Take it steady, take it structured, and always make sure that you're measuring rather than just spending as much as you can as quickly as you can.
Yeah, that's a great point actually, and I had that written down as well. So I'll maybe just elaborate on that and say that it's an issue that's an issue I see a lot with early stage startups, and I think the reason that's a big don't to sort of immediately throw a lot of money in performance marketing is because I think it takes a while to figure out exactly what retention is for most startups, and until you've had some time to understand what retention means and how to measure it, it can be very wasteful to do that. So it's a second on the don't throw money at performance marketing too quickly. On the do side, I'd say get qualitative feedback from users. I think a lot of startups are very ambitious with their sort of desire to be sort of data driven when it comes to growth and growth marketing particularly. But that can be really hard at the very early stages, and you just don't have the volume to really do that. So really lean into users, really get qualitative feedback, listen to them, let them guide you.
Leave next, it's either Matt or Ian. Okay.
That was me, Matt. I think it's Susan.
Right. Oh, Susan, go ahead, Susan.
Hi, I really don't actually have that much to add. I think it's all been covered. I think in terms of do's, yeah, that whole thing about what are your customers telling you, is there any growing opportunities within or trends that you're seeing amongst your customers that will help you with that growth opportunity? And yeah, I don't go too wide, just try and focus. And I think the thing about the teams, I can't remember who said that, but about staff and building your team, I think that's absolutely right. There's going to be people in that early stage that just aren't right for the business moving forward. And yeah, you have to, don't shy away from tough decisions, is probably how I would put it.
Well, thank you very much to all 5 of you. Really appreciate it. Quick reminder to those of you tuning in via the live streams, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, remember, we are unable to monitor your questions there live. So you'd have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that is to go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club. You'll find today's session, which is Startup Growth Q&A 144. Click join, then a quick registration, gets you a link to your email. Through that link, you can join our live audio call. For those of you that are already here or will make it here later, drop your question in the chat. We'll only be here for, for about 25 minutes now. So we only have time for a few questions. Drop your questions in the chat. I'll then give you the mic and you can ask the team. Please, team, whatever you do, do not go over a minute with your answers. We'll go to our first question. This is a seed stage SaaS for remote team collaboration. They're moving to London from Scotland. She says, our situation is that we struggle to balance user acquisition costs and lifetime value. So my question for your team is, our remote team collaboration platform faces rising acquisition costs, and we're unsure if our user lifetime value justifies them at this stage. What scalable growth hacking strategies, such as micro-targeted onboarding campaigns or viral referral loops, could help us lower cost of acquisition whilst increasing LTV, particularly in a competitive SaaS market? So maybe we can start with Jagdeep, Matt, Ian, Susan, and last but not least, Ben, please. Your less than 1 minute of glory starts now, Jagdeep.
Yeah, sure. So I think there's a couple of angles here. One is in terms of onboarding campaigns, try and personalize them. So that would be one option. There's quite a few websites out there that also allow you to do things like interactive tutorials and checklists. So the idea is that when you onboard onto the platform, it's very easy and very intuitive to actually get on board. And there's a degree of personalization. So that might be one area to look at. Another one would be kind of around the referral side. So consider things like gamification and also incentivizing the referrals. So there's a reason for that, and also make it easier to actually share these referrals as well. Just make sure you're on top of your marketing and the SEO side of things. So SEO optimization would be a quick win. The other ones I could think of maybe is to consider like a freemium model. So rather than people paying on upfront, maybe consider a free tier, which then allows people to kind of shift onto the paid version once they start requiring more features or increasing the usage of the platform. So I think those would be the initial ones I can think of, given the time limit.
Thank you very much, Jagdeep. I believe next we said Matt or Ian, did we? I can't remember now. One of you, either Matt or Ian, whichever.
I can go next. That's no problem. I'll say I'm very much against the term growth hacking. Personally, I feel that sometimes those methods are sort of put in for short-term gain, but long-term sustainability just isn't there. So with that being said, my best advice would be looking at the campaigns you're currently running, really closely look at those analytics to see what is converting, what that effective like cost per conversion is past that initial acquisition cost. Obviously you've got your LTV modeled as well, which is great, but really pay attention to what is working well in converting to like key events for the product that's going to lead to that greater lifetime value, and then focusing your efforts on that. Don't be afraid to turn some campaigns off and see if you can start to reduce the user acquisition costs that way.
Thanks a lot, Ian. Tom, Matt, sorry.
Yeah, I'd really second that point. I think taking a deep look at the mix of sources and understanding kind of how you're attributing that LTV. Can you identify sources that actually might be more expensive on the face of it to acquire a customer, but if the quality of customer is significantly higher and they're sticking around a lot longer, and therefore the lifetime value is higher. Can you lean into that more, perhaps? And sometimes it feels a little bit unintuitive to do that. But for me, there's two big dynamics here. Obviously, there's the acquisition cost side, but the LTV, like how can you retain that customer longer, extract more value out over the long term, and I think that gives you more room to play. So I think about it in that way.
Oh, I think that's me. Sorry. This is really not my area of expertise, and it feels quite technical and specialist. So I'm not going to. I probably don't have that much useful advice. But what I would say, you said you're based in Scotland, moving to London, I think you said, but there is quite a lot of specialist support out there within, particularly within the Scottish ecosystem, and I probably would, just how you've heard from the experts here, might benefit from seeking out some general advice around that to help you take that forward.
Here. Don't move just yet. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, just following on from Susan's point, I do question why you're moving to London from Scotland. That's not going to help your cost base and your runway, especially because you're a remote team collaboration platform. I'd love to know the answer to that one. My strong advice, if your CACs are going up rapidly or going up too much, I would actually focus on your product market fit. That's a red flag. It sounds as though you don't have product market fit or you haven't got there yet. So really analyze that, do research with the customers, figure out how you can invest in the product before you maybe waste money on marketing costs. Sorry if that's harsh.
That makes sense. Thank you very much to you all. Quick reminder, I can see my phone flashing on our live streams again. I am unable to monitor your questions there live, so please do come join us here on our Microsoft Teams call. It's audio only. You can join from anywhere via any platform or device. And since there's no video, you don't need to spend an hour in front of the mirror to do your hair. Quickest way to do that is go to our site, startup2scaleup.club. Click on our session, which is Startup Growth Q&A 144. You click join, quick registration. That gets you to our call, and then here you can just drop your question in the chat and we'll then give you the mic. So we'll now go on to our next question. Right, we're a health tech startup in Sheffield preparing for at Series A rather. And then she sent another message after that saying preparing for Series. Okay, so they're preparing for Series A, offering a wearable device for remote patient monitoring. Traditional influencers in healthcare tend to focus on B2C audiences, which doesn't align with our B2B target market. How can we craft an influencer marketing strategy that partners with thought leaders, oh my God, I hate that term, in the healthcare industry, such as NHS innovators or tech-forward GPs, to create content that educates and engages decision makers for private clinics and regional health systems? Personally, I would say stick to the private, because breaking into the NHS and all the regulation is a freaking nightmare. But nevertheless, let's start with Ben, then Matt, then Susan, then Ian, then Jagdeep. And let's try and offer one thing each so that we keep it under 1 minute, please, Steve. Carry on, Ben.
Well, first of all, congratulations on having a hardware product. We're supportive of that at Yoto because that's what we have. Hardware is hard, so always hats off to other companies doing that. We at Yoto, we sell almost exclusively to consumers, but we do have a kind of a B2B side where we're selling to schools and educators, and that's also a very tough market. It's super fragmented. It's completely different in one country to another. Most of our sales through that channel come very organically. We don't really actively promote our products to like local authorities and stuff like that. So I think there is a way to use influencer stuff to go to B2B markets, but you kind of have to figure out where they are, where is the audience, and where are the influencers that go there. I think that's all I can add to that point.
Fair enough. Thank you very much for that. I think next was it Matt, I believe.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a really tricky one. I've heard this one come up before, and I think that the sort of natural appeal of influencer marketing and its strengths typically do lie in that sort of B2B space with a shorter kind of transaction cycle. But it can be done in B2B. I think that to do that, you've got to first of all find the right influential people that you can kind of build authority and credibility in your business and your content that you create by working with them, and do it in a very sort of collaborative way. And I would say like the traditional kind of influencer formats of typical Instagram, things like that, just not going to work for B2B, I would imagine. So probably be looking at more long form, roundtables, webinars, things that you can sort of do in a live setting, but also record and sort of use in different formats going forward. So that's kind of how I would tackle this, I think.
Hi. Again, probably not much to add from the last two callers. I think that thing about B2B is definitely a much different approach. It is about relationships, about collaboration, and probably your traditional marketing channels won't work. What I would say from some of the experience that we've had with early stage startup companies, and without knowing too much detail, obviously, about what you're trying to do, but just in general, that if it's healthcare, NHS, education, it is very, very difficult to get in. It's not impossible, but I think Anton alluded to that. I'm not saying don't do it, because I don't know enough about the business and I would never say that. But if you're looking at public sector, it's really tricky. And particularly if it's around innovation, a lot of companies, particularly that I've seen, have struggled to get any traction within the NHS, for example. So probably private is probably your market. And I know that quite a lot of companies that have been dealing in that space around innovation and healthcare have actually seen a bigger market, obviously a bigger market in the US. But I just caveat that with, I don't know enough about your business to be giving out that advice, but I would certainly be looking at other avenues apart from the NHS, because the NHS is notoriously challenging to build relations with. Not impossible, but very challenging.
Here, thank you very much. And I believe it's Ian and then Jagdeep.
Not an awful lot more to add. Like, primarily I've worked with influencers in the B2C space, but feel that there is room for this to work in the B2B area. I feel like LinkedIn could be your friend here in terms of finding those influential people in your space that are potentially talking around like the subject matters, and being able to connect with them and approach them. And it could be worth trying some activity, targeted activity, even specifically on LinkedIn, where you can try sort of classic sort of influencer stuff. I know some people get quite annoyed at seeing this stuff on LinkedIn because it's supposed to be that very strict business space, but I am seeing more and more of it there. And I definitely wouldn't be saying don't try something sort of in an influencer style on that platform and see how that works for you. But I definitely echo the points made about roundtables and webinars as well.
Thank you. Last but not least, Jagdeep, please.
Hi, yeah, I think echoing what everyone said so far, I'm actually working with a couple of organizations in the health tech and the femtech space, and what has worked is actually partnering with some of the industry associations. I would say private is the way to go in terms of speed. Also look at clinicians who are in this space as well, and partner with them is very important. Also around this kind of ecosystem, case studies and white papers also go a long way, including and in addition to webinars and podcasts. You may want to look at expert interviews as well and articles, so people who are specialists in this particular space, depending on what you're actually monitoring and how you're monitoring it, and what your competitor base is as well. The other aspect to look at is also joint partnerships with educational institutions or actually doing joint research papers as well and publications, both kind of private or with universities as well, or research groups that are kind of in this space that you may be working with. From experience, all those have worked, and people are usually very forthcoming, providing that you understand how to portray the value that you bring to the table over and above what's already out there. So I think one is the sell, but then the second one is show the value, and then get people on board, and then take it from there.
Thank you, Jagdeep. Rightio, we're not going to keep asking you to listen, because clearly that's quite hard. But again, you can see you try and send messages during the live streams. Unfortunately, we can't monitor them there. So please join us here on Microsoft Teams. Trust me, we don't bite. Anyway, quickest way to do that is go to our site, startuptoscaleup.club. Find today's session, Startup Pro Q&A 144. Click join, quick registration, get you a link to your email, and then you can join our live audio call via that email. We're only going to be here for another 10 minutes or so. But for those of you that are here already, if you've got any questions, please drop it in the chat. We'll then give you the mic and you can ask our team. The next question we have is, okay, this is another one on wearables or hard tech, I'm guessing. So West Midlands D2C fitness tracker, seed stage. Our fitness tracker users see improvement but rarely share their results or experiences publicly. How can we create a strategy to inspire users to advocate for us through features like shareable progress badges, rewards for social media testimonials, or gamified challenges with prizes for users who invite the most friends to join, or anything else? By the way, just a quick one, because I forgot on the previous question, I'm a huge believer in standing on the shoulders of giants. So find somebody who already has the audience that you want to go to, who already has the clients, but they haven't got your product, and find a way to make it viable for them. But as far as this West Midlands D2C is concerned, we can perhaps start with Ian, then Max, then Ben, then Susan, then Jagdeep.
Cool, thanks, Anton. This one echoes quite true to me at my previous role at Money Hub, which is a personal finance app, you know, tracking your spending and trying to establish goals, and we were saving customers money, but we found it very difficult as well. People didn't really want to share that progress, or that was, you know, more sensitive information there. But what we settled on was, you know, the need, you know, a classic referral scheme, and what worked really well for us was quite a simple referral scheme. We partnered with a company called Ecology, which you might be aware of, so it's planting trees, and that worked better in terms of sharing and getting people to invite other people to try the platform than anything we tried before. Is just a simple fact of if someone registered for the app, we'd plant a tree for you and then plant a tree for them, and then if they went on to connect accounts, we'd plant like a bonus tree. And it was quite a manual process. I'd just go and plant the trees in the forest, and that was set up, you know, online. You go and have a look at it, and it just worked really well, because I think it was just a bit of a feel good aspect to it, separate from like real specifics of the product itself. But that got, you know, we know that word of mouth and referral can be some of the lowest user acquisition you can gain. So yeah, that worked really well for us.
Okay, yes, right.
Yeah, I think this is a really tricky one, and I think as Ian mentioned, it kind of comes down to the nature of what you're expecting people to share. So it may be the case that it doesn't necessarily lend itself to sharing, and you know, my initial sort of place to go, I would think, would probably be I would try and speak to as many users as possible and understand, like, is this something you can share? How would you share it? Who would you share it with? And try and understand it that way. That would hopefully generate some ideas. I think the overall sort of product review strategy is kind of an en route to more users is something that you could make use of, because then it's not specifically tied to that individual's data or achievements and the kind of gamification element. You're just asking for more of a overall, what has the service brought to you, and how has it sort of changed your life? And I think, if you can find where in your user journey that you've really had that, that aha moment for your users, where you've really driven some value and they start to really understand the product and sort of get that review request in at that point, that's probably, I think, a quick win that you can work on without having to do too much of the product gamification strategy, and potentially long-winded and expensive. So yeah, that's where I'd start.
Who was next? Ian or Matt? I'm sorry, because I'm kind of not able to see it all the time. Go on, Matt.
That was me. So I'll pass on to someone else.
Is it me? Maybe. Hi, Susan.
Sorry,
I don't have much to add. I would say, just on top of what's already been said, it's really clear, really good to articulate what it is that your product brings and why people would want to use your product. So really nothing much more to add than really what's the value add and what's better about your product.
I think it's me now. This is Ben. I would look at a couple of different things. This is from personal experience of using Strava, but also at Yoto, we do allow sharing. We allow content sharing, but different types of sharing. So rather than have to go to full public, where you actually share your entire life and all of your fitness journey with the entire internet, I would look at group sharing, either through some kind of clubs. We see that at Yoto. People share there's a running club on Strava and Runner. People are very happy to share that within a private group or a family group, or it could even just be sharing with your partner, for example. So don't feel like sharing has to be full broadcasting everything to the internet, because that's something that a lot of people would be very uncomfortable with. And the other thing to say is, I think you've answered the question somewhat in the question. You've answered the question. Sorry, you've answered the question in your answer. There's some good ideas there. So absolutely riff on those things.
That often happens. Thanks, Ben. I think last but not least, Jagdeep and Ian, or I'm kind of losing track now. Sorry, but it's definitely either Jagdeep or Ian.
Yeah, I can go next. So I think the key aspect to these sorts of platforms that you're talking about is the fact that you have a concept of a community and incentivizing a community to share. So what I'd look at is how can you incentivize your users to share the information, and with whom? And people will always be more comfortable if the community is a known community and they're getting some value out of it. So I think I'll put some thought into those two kind of aspects over and above what's already been said.
Thank you very much. Ian, did you have a go at all,
or? Yeah, I kicked it off, this one.
You've already done. Okay, we've got time for one last question then. I'll go through it now. Okay, this is from a seed stage agri-tech startup in York. They're producing AI-powered crop monitoring drones designed for medium-sized UK farms. Our product is technically very advanced, but farmers are skeptical about adopting technology that seems costly and complex. And then he's put in brackets, we're struggling with pricing too. What steps can we take to design a go-to-market strategy that includes region-specific demo days, tailored financing options, and collaborative pilots with agricultural cooperatives to showcase the financial and operational benefits of our drones in practical or real-world settings? Maybe we can start with Jagdeep, then Ian, then Susan, then Ben, then Matt, please.
Oh, I think we've lost Jagdeep. So
Jagdeep, okay, do you want to go ahead, Ian? Yep.
Yeah, I can jump in quickly. Also, let others have their say, because I'm not afraid to say it's fairly far outside of my wheelhouse. But what sort of jumped into my mind was like country shows, like the showgrounds around the country, various counties, and potentially being able to get into those, to be able to demonstrate what you're doing, because I think you'll hit a good audience there. But I will defer to others' advice.
Very much, Susan.
Yeah, so probably slightly different, but from a public sector point of view, one of our key target markets within the south of Scotland is agriculture and farmers. And yeah, it's tricky because, as you say, farmers do a great job, but they've had a bit of a hard time, I think, recently. And they also, while they are very innovative, they also need trust to be built up. So I suppose for me, it would be focus on a particular, probably geographical location if you can, where there's clusters of the farmers. Try and, the shows, if it's local shows to demonstrate, but I think it goes beyond that. I think local, there's the young farmers, there'll be Scottish, there'll be English equivalents, there'll be farming organisations. There may be, in Scotland, sorry, it's very Scotland based, but we've got a rural college and university who are doing some really great stuff. Could you partner with them? So academic usually is a way that you may get in, but generally it's about building trust. So if you can pick a particular location that's got lots of farms that you may want to work with, and probably get through a middle sort of area, wherever that's like a young farmers or the farming associations or local, maybe areas that are actually working with the farmers. That's probably the way in, is probably one of the ways I would tackle it.
Susan, just before I go to the others, is there any wisdom in going into where the money is, i.e. the people that dish out various subsidies and stuff to the farming community, like local authorities or other regional ones, although
I think it's better
dealing with them and they're a nightmare to deal with?
I think it's better trying to identify if there's any activity. That's why I was talking about maybe geographical. I'm just thinking the south of Scotland, where there may be activity already there around potential projects that are looking at, you're talking about drones there, so maybe data, projects that may already be there, so you've already got a kind of willingness to engage. I mean, what we found is that we've run quite a lot of early stage, design thinking with farming and with farmers, that kind of thing, and that's really, really ignited their kind of wanting to look at new ideas and new ways of doing things. But I think it's probably better, rather than going through local authorities or more sort of structural, like subsidy, that kind of thing, is probably better looking at maybe associations or local groups. You'll find there might be local groups, there might be rural groups, so it's probably better doing it that way than going through more formal public sector-y type thing, I would say.
Thank you very much,
find the farmers and who they probably speak to.
That makes sense. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, so drones and AI, I love it in terms of the tech side of things, but clearly you're pre-product market fit here. I think you need to find 2 or 3 farmers who are willing to promote the product and maybe are charismatic, but you're going to have to give them the service for free. So the deal is you run pilots with these farmers, and in exchange, if they're happy with the results, of course, they have to do some promotion for you. This obviously depends if you've got enough runway to support this. You need to prove the product. If you can get a few farmers on board, I'm pretty sure they'll literally operate like herds. So if a few farmers get on board and love the product and show the actual data works, then they'll follow. But yeah, you're definitely pre-product market fit by the sounds of it.
Is there a pun there, Ben?
Say it again.
Can you hear me? Never mind. That was meant to be a joke. I said, was there a pun there? Because you said they'll go like herds.
Yeah, as I said it, I was thinking that, and I was like,
all right. Last but not least, Matt, the floor's yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I think what an exciting product. I would actually just double down on what you've just heard. Really, find those early adopters and just be as close to them as you possibly can. It feels to me like it is a market that would require that kind of proof point to be quite obvious and come from within the community to build that kind of authenticity. So I would really really lean into that as kind of like a pilot and think about like as Susan said, like what region can you focus on? How can you kind of refine your sort of ideal customer profile so that you're just focusing on one region rather than ending up being sort of stretched across the country, in far-flung ways, which is just going to increase cost and operational challenges. So find a small area and really just hone in.
Find them where they are. Thank you very much. We are now 2 minutes over what I was planning to state. So if you've got time for a 30-second parting words, I'd appreciate that. Maybe we can start with the lady of the house, Susan, then Ben, then Matt, then Ian, please.
Yeah, just as always, it's really inspirational to hear all these great ideas and people really trying to drive forward that tech and obviously start their business. And I think just take some of the advice that's here, which is you can't always know your product, know what your customers are telling you, and try have that big ambition to go to drive that scale up, but you do have to start probably small to begin with. So but keep that ambition, but don't try and do too much all at once.
Was it supposed to be me? Is it supposed to be me? Sorry. Yeah, the other thing I would add is something that if I was starting again a business now, you have to look at AI and look at it from an opportunity and a threat. How can we AI will be very different in 1 year's time to what it is now. It will be far more capable. It's one of the most astonishing pace of changes, technological developments I've ever seen, and it's really exciting but scary at the time. Personally, I'm quite glad at Yoto we have a hardware product because that's very defensible in the world of AI. Whereas pure play SaaS businesses, some of them could be literally cloned in a few hours with some AI tools. So think about your defensibility, think about the threat of AI as well as the opportunity.
Cool. I think it was me next. Yeah.
Yes, if you.
Some great answers and some really interesting sounding products today. So really happy to have been part of that. I would say just sort of a final tip. Product market fit. I feel as a concept is kind of getting sort of a wider understanding, and I would say I see a lot of startups that are probably pre-product market fit but don't quite sort of understand the pathway to finding it. And I'd say that's something that if you're just starting out, think about what product market fit actually means. It is something measurable, but it's measurable in different ways for different businesses. So I would do some reading around that, and I feel like that's a gateway to when you can really start growing is when you've hit product market fit. So just get that concept nailed for your business.
And it's me. Really enjoyed today. I always love hearing the questions and the different areas, different industries, and the different problems. I think my final tip, I sort of tend to say, is don't strive for perfection, because that will only slow you down.
Thank you very much to all of you today. Those of you that tuned in via the live streams, especially those of you that were here in Microsoft Teams. And of course, I'm very grateful to my panelists. Huge thanks. A couple of things before my parting words. Number one, please remember next time we are unable to monitor your questions live. So you have to join us live on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only. Best way to do that is to go to our website, where you can also RSVP So any future session we have, we normally have 6 of those. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of the month is UK Startup Law, third Friday of the month is UK Startup Finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. And you can RSVP to any of them by our site, startup2scaleup.club. When you go there, you might also want to join our WhatsApp community, which you'll see an icon at the top and bottom of the page. And it's groups of founders, investors, and operators. As far as my parting words are concerned, just remember the startup journey be both exciting but also challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else. Otherwise, we've got some amazing investors for our startup fundraising Q&A tomorrow. So I hope to see you all there. Thank you and God bless. Bye-bye for now.